Some big news in the SEC late last night as Theo Wease Jr. announced his return for the Missouri Tigers in 2024, guys. And this is a big, big boost for a team that just won the Cotton Bowl over the Ohio State Buckeyes. And, guys, you look at this offense, of course, Brady Cook is already announced he's coming back for Mizzou next season. The only guy they're losing, the only piece now, is Cody Schrader, the fantastic running back. Of course, guys are going to have to replace him. That's not going to be easy. But you knew Luther Burden III was coming back, which I would probably argue going into 2024 is the best returning wide receiver in the SEC. You look at the numbers, and I think they would reaffirm that because Malik Neighbors at number 1, Xavier Legette at number 2, at least statistically. Those two guys are gone. So you look at Luther Burden last year, 1,212 yards, 9 receiving touchdowns. He is the returning leader in the conference. But on the other side, that is where Eli Drinkwitz and company got this big news. As, again, Theo Wease Jr., the second option for Brady Cook in the passing game, announced his return. Huge boost, guys. 49 catches for 682 yards and 6 touchdowns in the 2023 season, guys. I mean, this is just a massive, some of the biggest wins of the offseason for these coaches, for these programs, are keeping your talent on the roster, saying, hey, you know what? You can go to the NFL draft, or goodness, you can hit the portal, maybe get a better offer, or you can stay here and help build something special, right? Of course, Theo Wease Jr. started his career, played 3 seasons at Oklahoma, was a really good player there, former 5-star prospect, 5-star signee for the Sooners, and of course came over to Mizzou for the 2023 season. But guys, it raises this question. With that duo of Luther Burden III and Theo Wease Jr., is that the best wide receiver duo in the SEC going into 2024? And if not, who is? Because, I don't know who you could say is better. Again, I read off their numbers, guys. I mean, Luther Burden III is arguably coming back the most dynamic wide receiver coming into next season. There's nobody better than this guy, really, truly, at least right now that we know of. And then Theo Wease Jr., he's got the physicality, guys. He's got the speed. Love what he can do. High point in the football, guys. We saw it time and time again this year. It is a great 1-2 punch on the outside, the passing game for the Missouri Tigers. Heck, you saw it on display in that Cotton Bowl towards the end of the game against Ohio State. But you look at other really good dynamic duos in the SEC, guys. I think others that are comparable. If you want to talk about Brew McCoy and Squirrel White, right? That was big news a couple days ago when Brew McCoy announced that he will return. But McCoy's going to have a lot of questions to answer, right? About can he come back from the injury? And Squirrel White's been really good. I don't know that he's been up to the level of either one of these guys on Missouri's roster, but McCoy and White have both been really good. Maybe at season's end, we're talking about them rivaling this duo, but I'm not sure right now you can argue they're better. You go to Ole Miss. I think that's the one that most likely you can look at and say, okay, this is where you have the best argument. You got Trey Harris, you got Jordan Watkins, or you can throw Juice Wells in there, and they've got other guys too. The wide receiver depth at Ole Miss is crazy, right? The wide receiver depth is insane. So if you want to have that conversation, if Juice Wells is healthy, if Juice Wells is back to 100% and being himself, I think that duo of Juice Wells and Trey Harris, I think you can realistically say is the best duo, but we don't know if Juice Wells is going to play because you know what? He might be 90%, 95%. Heck, he might be 100% and sit out, so who knows? Anyways, though, you go to Kentucky, guys. Dane Key and Barion Brown. These guys didn't necessarily live up to the hype this year or this past season, but going into 2024, I think you look at them certainly with Brock Vandegrift throwing them the rock. Could this be a dynamic duo that we look at and it rivals this group? And then also, guys, you go to Georgia. They've got a plethora of wide receivers that, I think Carson Beck did a really good job of spreading the football out. Brock Bowers obviously took a lot of the attention and, received a lot of the accolades, made a lot of the big plays, if you will. There's so much talent in that Georgia wide receiver room. So much talent, loaded with talent. But there's nobody I think is proven as these two guys with Luther Burden and Theo Wease Jr. So I think you can realistically argue, guys, and what I'm saying right now is I think with the return of Theo Wease, I think it's safe to say that Missouri features the best 1-2 punch at the wide receiver position going into the 2024 season. I think there's no better duo than Luther Burden III and Theo Wease Jr. When you look at just the dynamic playmaking ability, the problems they give to an opposing defense, it's going to be a lot of fun in Como for Brady Cook. And then you look at Missouri guys and what it means for them. And listen, I'm not trying to, get the hype train out of control, if you will, but after a season in which you win 11 games, and you got a lot of your top pieces coming back next year. And that's going to be the big question for Mizzou, though, right? Is consistency. Can they do it year after year after year? They've got to prove it. I think there's still going to be a lot of people that are doubting the Missouri Tigers, that are saying, you know what, it was a one-year, one-off. It was a fluke. Mizzou's going to revert back to winning 6 games a year or 5 games a year or whatever it might be. This helps, though. This helps big time, having those 2 big weapons on the outside. I think Missouri will be able to find help at the running back position as good as Cody Schrader was. And again, take nothing away. I'm not telling you they're going to have Cody Schrader 2.0, but in regards to the passing game, and they've got a great tight end as well, but in regards to your receivers, this is a huge boost for a Missouri team that is trying to parlay this momentum from this season, winning the Cotton Bowl, beating Ohio State, into something more. Now with the 12-team college football playoff, maybe you see Missouri competing for that 12-team college football playoff, and they're going to have the weapons on the outside. I mean, Brady Cook, it is an embarrassment of riches when you've got 2 guys. I think Luther Burden, guys, at one point, it was like 7 games in a row he scored a touchdown, or he caught a touchdown pass. I mean, it was insane numbers, right? Insane numbers. 9 touchdowns is what he finished with. Again, Luther Burden III, 1,212 yards, 9 receiving touchdowns. And then you look at what Theo Wease Jr. did, guys. He was 15th in the SEC, 682 yards, 6 touchdowns. But again, 15 receiving touchdowns will return now for the Missouri Tigers. So a huge boost for Eli Drinkwitz and MIZ as they look to make a playoff push heading into next season.